that God gave Paul a new revelation about his burden. His burden was there to humble him, and to help him. Oh, y'all missed that. Y'all missed that. It not only was it here to humble him, but it was to help him. Paul says, Lord, take it away. But God says, no, my grace is sufficient. Paul said, God, I want out. God says, my grace is sufficient. Paul said, God, I need this removed. But God says, my grace is sufficient. My grace, the glorious and generous favor of God, will be enough. Paul lets God know that God said, I'm not going to take it out. I'm not going to take you out. But I won't let the trouble overcome you. I had a situation in my house where my septic system was overflowing. And I had some problems in my yard. And the problem is that the pump had been cut off. So when I called the septic people, I said, it's overflowing and it's a mess in my yard. He said, no problem, I'll get the pump running. I said, but it's a mess. Don't worry, I'll get the pump running. And it makes no difference how much mess comes out of the house. When the pump is running, it adjusts its speed to whatever is coming out of the house. And the Lord said, I'm trying to help you. I don't care how much mess is coming your way. I'll adjust my grace to give you just enough so that it will not overflow, so the trouble won't overflow, so the mess won't overflow. I can pump it out. I can pump in grace in your life. I can pump in joy in your life. I can pump in mercy in your life to help you with and give you strength to deal. I'm not going to take you out, but I'm going to deal with what comes your way. I'm not going to take you out, but I'm going to deal with what comes your way. I'm not going to take you out, but I'm going to give you strength to deal with whatever you got to deal with. Oh, y'all missed it. Let me help you. Let me lay it down a little bit further. God lets Paul know that he will keep the problem present. But the power of God's grace is more powerful than the present problem. Let me say it like this. The problem is going to be persistent. Your crazy boss is going to be persistent. The sickness you're dealing with may not go away. But God's grace is more sufficient to compensate for the persistency of this problem. Okay. I need you to remember. Here, write this down. The persistency of the problem is not greater than the sufficiency of God's grace, God's favor, and God's provision. I'm going to say it real slow for you. The persistency of your problem is not greater than the sufficiency of God's grace, favor, and God's provision. The problem is more powerful than Paul's strength, but it's not more powerful than God's grace. Okay, I'm trying to help you here. It's too powerful for Paul, but it's not too powerful for God. God told Paul, I will not take it away. Not only is the persistency of the problem not greater than the sufficiency of God's grace, my weakness, Paul learns, is perfect for God's strength to be displayed. Hold on, what are you saying? What Paul had learned was that God's strength was manifested more when he was at his weakest. It was when Paul couldn't go on that God gave him power to continue. It was when Paul had thought he was as good as dead that God gave him power to get back up one more time. It was when Paul had nothing left that God showed up with enough to keep him going. It was when Paul was knocked down and thinking he couldn't get back up that something lifted him. He didn't even know what it was, but it was when Paul had no more strength that God gave him a second wind to run on just a little while longer. The blessing of the burden is that it humbled Paul, but it kept him connected to God. I tell folk over the last year, Sister Richardson has said, you need to get better, Pastor Hodge, and I'm in the process, and she is a taskmaster, and she said, you got to get on this elliptical and do 45 minutes every day. I said, you are out of your mind, lady. I don't know what's going on with you, so I got on it. She said, put it on level 12. I tried level 12. I had to start at level 9. I got to be honest, amen. I can't tell no stories up in here, and the first few days I could barely do 30 minutes. But she said, you got to do 45 minutes. So I went the first week, I cheated. I just did about 30, maybe 35 minutes. I couldn't get to 45 minutes. But something happened when I got on the second week. I got back on there. She said, you got to do it. And I couldn't lie to her no more in the text and say I was doing it when I really was halfway doing it. So I got on the treadmill and I got to about 30 or 35 minutes, and I didn't think I could do anymore. But something happened. All of a sudden, the song on my playlist switched to a song, upbeat praise song. Amen. I had some R&B going for a minute, but when the praise song hit at 35 minutes, I felt my strength coming on. I felt, hold on. Next thing you know, I had done 45 minutes. And last Saturday, when I was at the men's retreat, I went in there to do my workout, and I got on the 45 minutes. And next thing you know, I was at 50 minutes, and then 55 minutes, and then 60 minutes. You know what happened? I was weak, but I got a second wind. Amen. I didn't think I could go on, but I got a fresh wind. And beloved, that's how God will be with you. You'll think you can't go on. You'll think you should quit. Matter of fact, you had quit at that point in the past, like I did. You had quit at the 35-minute mark. You had quit at the 30 minutes. When your boss got on your nerve, you used to quit. When your family was in trouble, you used to run out. But now you feel a second wind, and you got down on your knees this time. You called out to the Lord this time, and God gave you a fresh wind. God gave you a renewed spirit. God began to restore you. He didn't take you out, but he kept you strong while you stayed in. Paul learned God doesn't change your situation all the time, but he can change you. Look, I still had to do my 45 minutes, but somehow now I got a little more breath to go a little while longer. And you know what I found out? Me going those 30 and 35 minutes for all that time built my strength up to go a little while longer. And God sometimes will take you through this trial and that trial so that you can go on a little longer at your job, so you can go a little longer in your marriage, so you can go a little longer at your difficulty. God gives you strength.